Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I'm Inquisitor Temperance Price, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the third volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesis adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee and players Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt as Attikus Viz, Laura Hamstra as Eli Sharp, and Della Borovic as Morgan Rawls. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band has begun formulating new plans. Morgan and Eli convinced Lizzo Lizardman that Morgan was having a secret affair with Saccoteur Voidstain, while Valentyne and Attikus hired a party planner and plotted to use the Bolonsong estate as a dowry. Can these separate parties survive assassinations and intrigue without each other's support? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
Overheard at the palace. A call from Van Houten? This ought to be good. Attikus, you have just been connected to the palace and through to the king, who has seen fit to answer your call.
Wow.
He is, at this point, still wearing his hunting gear, but sitting in one of those like massive overback chairs that Del was talking to him in earlier as Morgan. And he's got the collar undone now. He seems to have sobered up a little bit. You see King Frederick just flipping through a data slate in one hand, sort of with his thumb, and the call connects, and you kind of get the grainy image of him on the other end. And he says, "Lord Van Houten, my favorite weapons smuggler, greetings. What can I do for you?"
Good evening, Your Majesty. It occurred to me that I could be of special service to you in the executing of the assassins that were uncovered by myself and my team at today's hunt.
Right, that was you. You gave some of my guards shit, huh? For taking your trophy away?
Yes, that's right, sir. The trophy that I provided from the hunt, the assassins that I found, I was quite keen to follow up and continue to be involved with their interrogation. Just like your royal guards, I am at your disposal, Your Majesty.
Oh, I appreciate that. And look, I just want to say, no hard feelings on all of that. I already had the guy whipped who was a dick to you. I understand separating someone from their trophy after a hunt is a difficult thing. Of course, you understand the delicate situation I'm in, so kind of had to take him, the trophies, he puts big air quotes around them, away from you. But we've had quite a good chat, and I'll be happy to send what's left of the first one back to you if you want to. I don't know what you do with various parts of a body, but we got them bagged up for you, so that's good. We're working on the other one right now. I tell you, they're singing like a canary. But you said you might be of some assistance. Now, I appreciate that you've got a giant metal squishing arm or punching arm or, I don't know, chopping arm if you're going for slappers only, I guess, over there. But I got plenty of torture masters over here, so I don't really know what service you can offer me here, but it touches my heart that you want to get your hands dirty. I gotta say, most of these clowns, they talk a big game, but when push comes to shove, they don't want to see blood anywhere, which makes them incredibly weak. Very easy to rule, to be honest. So what are you offering here? What do you think I don't already have?
I thought it would be entertaining and a bit of spectacle to introduce a modicum of sport to the execution of any remaining enemies of the crown. We do have a garden maze out back of the Bolonsong estate here, Your Majesty, and we thought it might be a bit of fun to release them into it so that Your Majesty might hunt them as a bit of spectacle and sport for this evening's, perhaps tomorrow evening's frivolities, as the party tonight has been cancelled.
Oh, it's taking the place of. Oh, I see. So you wanna do this at your party tomorrow? Because we're doing an execution thing tonight. Don't you worry your pretty little head about that. I got a lot of people to kill tonight.
Well, then I would be honored to host said execution in our back gardens here.
Okay, all right. Take a step down there, my lord. I appreciate you trying to be helpful, and I know you're not from here in a long time, but let the royal house do what the royal house does. But in terms of the offer to hunt one of your trophies in the maze tomorrow, maybe the ringleader of this minor rebellion, well, that sounds mighty interesting. So sure, put me down for one maze hunt tomorrow. That sounds great. And because you've just been so fucking helpful tonight, I will be happy to give you a seat of honor next to the Duke so you two can talk about whatever, young love wants to discuss while I chop the head off this burgeoning rebellion. Sound good?
That would be extremely generous and kind of you, Your Majesty. You mentioned they were singing like canaries. You already have the name and location, then, of the leader of this rebellion.
Leaders, my friend.
Leaders, I see.
It would seem that I have gotten a little too light with the axe of late, so just gonna make up for lost time. Besides, all the cool kids are doing it, am I right? Okay, listen, I gotta get back to figuring some shit out on my side. I got a space marine at my door, so listen, you put on your nicest whatever the fuck, and we'll see you at the execution. All right, we're gonna put on a huge spectacle, and I'm gonna say some apologies to the noble houses for all this fuckery. It really falls to the king and the discipline of a nation. When you let dissent grow and people have differing opinions and you just let them talk. I mean, what the fuck is that? Right? So it's good. We'll bathe in the blood of our foes together. And, hunt tomorrow from the bottom of my hunter's heart sounds excellent. So thank you very much, Lord Van Houten. Also, I understand that there were some weapons found in your carriage. That hasn't been forgotten. I hope you understand why I've forced you to go over to Bolonsong there. Rest assured, you'll have your decrepit estate back as soon as my teams are done sweeping it. I don't hold a grudge about it, but kind of sucks, So,
yes, I'm also looking forward to getting to the bottom of that. I'll raise my power fist and say, weapons are not really my concern.
No, because you got that big fuck you fist. Yeah, that is interesting.
As it stands, Your Majesty, if there is any. If you wish to have any assistance in stamping out said dissension.
Oh, hang on, Space Marine's here, and he just kills the call.
Right, okay. And Attikus, kind of not knowing how this shit works, is not sure if he did good or not. And so he'll just mutter to himself, just, shit, and go find a ratling.
So, Valentyne, you wanted to reach out to Forrest Bullard immediately. What kind of message were you sending?
He would just send it in writing. Just say, I've prepared a report on the subjects of your interest. I'm available to present it at your convenience.
Okay, great. So as that message would have gone through rather quickly, so I think timeline-wise, we can say Attikus goes to call the king, you go to send the message. Message is received by Forrest Bullard, who is telling the king, I need to go over to Bolonsong right fucking now. So he is on his way. Forgive me, you had 4 specific tasks you wanted to go about. You set Attikus to the party.
Yep.
And to talking to the king. You have to report to Forrest. What's the other one?
Hugh Smiggleton was just pricing out the estate with Terseus to prep for our big dowry party.
So
make it look fancy.
I don't really want to do a bunch of rolls for NPCs. Let's do one from your stats with assistance from them for the pricing out. And what we're basically seeing here is how accurately are they able to price out the estate. The interesting thing being, Bolonsong is like an old money, well-established family on the planet. Hugh Smiggleton was an assistant level clerk. So he knows it's worth a lot, but it will be interesting to see if he actually can ascertain the value of old things. Newer things, probably very easily tell you, but, 5 generations ago, my great-great-grandpappy found this brass bed somewhere. It's like, what the fuck is that even worth? So let's go ahead with, I believe this is probably streetwise, to be honest, or negotiation. I would take either one.
Then we'll go streetwise. That feels right.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to say difficulty of 3, just for the speed. He can look stuff up, but there's a lot, and it's quick. You get a boost for Hugh Smiggleton just being a clerk of the world. He's decent at this. I'll give you another boost for the fact that Birno's on site, because as a party planner and entertainer, he's probably seen some rich shit and likely, even if he's not directly involved, could be called upon to be like, hey, what do you think this is worth? Be like, I saw one of those at a party once. It was worth blah. I'm going to give you a setback, Valentyne, for not actually understanding the financial value of anything, because as someone who has only ever existed within imperial systems.
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
You don't know the price of milk. Milk just arrives if there's milk to be had. It's the will of the emperor. That's for
if it was weaponry or other Astra Militarum ingredient, like he has enough knowledge of the Department of Munitorum to do that. But yeah,
sure.
This shit, who fucking cares? It's a big house, whatever.
And yes, on that note, a 1 for the size of the house. Just a lot of space to cover. Setback.
Okay.
Anything else you want to make a case for? Knowing that Valentyne isn't fully engaged in this as well. So it's not like...
the only other thing I would throw out is maybe a boost for Terseus, just because his level of organization of tracking would probably be more effective.
Yeah, by that. Yep, that makes sense.
Great, let's see what happens. 4 successes and 1 advantage on a die pool that was kind of 50-50.
Turns out Hugh Smiggleton watches a lot of Antiques Roadshow, a lot of Greybridge Pawn Stars. He really has a good sense of the cost of these sorts of things. I think also the serving staff, with that many successes, the serving staff at Bolonsong Manor are able to help. Again, you've got kind of friendly relationships with them. So easy enough to be like, oh, well, I remember hearing from some servant that this was bought for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, the head servant is smart enough to just go pull the insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly. Hugh comes back being like, I've priced it out. It's terribly priced. And she's like, how about this? It's like, oh, that one's fine. So yeah, you get a very, very clear sense of the value. And it is a lot, let alone as you're looking through the insurance papers for your dowry play, all of the shipwriting. Like all of the shipwriting industry is tied into the estate. So it's like you've got the value of this mansion, which is tremendous, but you also have shipyards. Like there's a full industry under your thumb now that is tremendously financially viable and perhaps an even greater prize than just the mansion, which is, do you want, because as we've established, the big families all kind of have one corner of the world carved out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a very, very attractive prospect all around. And with the advantage, I guess, just we'll pass unless you have something you want to spend it on, we'll just say pass.
No, I'm happy with that. Forward. Just get pass forward.
Sure. Great. So Hugh comes back and says, well, sir, I think we've got a rather accurate between the insurance papers and my guesses and Terseus's help. It would seem we've got a rather decent look. The house is worth quite a bit, as of course are the shipbuilding industries and the shipwriting. I do believe this is a very attractive prospect. Now, I understand you want the nobles to walk through and guess the prices. Do you want the prices to be under things, like a cool reveal? I've watched a lot of... we have a road show that goes around and assesses antiques here that you can go to in the town square. And that's how they sometimes do it. They put a price tag under it and say, it's actually worth this. And everyone goes, ooh. So you're looking for an ooh, or more so just an appraiser to say, you're wrong or you're right.
I do love an ooh. So if you could coordinate with Birno to make that happen, at least for some select items, that would be great.
Yes, the biggest ticket items. That is a very smart plan. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
And he goes to leave, then he kind of turns on his heel and says, a question for you, though, perhaps, since our Lord isn't present. How does he feel about giving away such extraordinary wealth? The concept of dowries has always been a rather important one here in the society, and I simply wonder, for one such as Lord Van Houten, who is trying to reestablish oneself, it seems an awful lot to give away. Are you certain he will be all right with this? Will this not affect his standing in the society to show his hand this much, to let everyone know exactly how much he's worth? These are time-honored secrets.
There are risks and there are gains. How much he is worth before he is married to Duke Wixthrop does not matter if he becomes married to Duke Wixthrop. Then he owns the planet. So this is a calculated gamble. If he were to just claim this wealth as his own, it would also not show a commitment to the royal family. This allows him to do both. The fact that it's a dowry will also help him undoubtedly in that should the royal family move to a different suitor, then this would remain with Lord Van Houten.
And Hugh just nods and he says, truly, for off-worlders, you play the game of the society quite well indeed. These are exciting, exciting times. And if I may, I know I've been somewhat salty about the presence of your other servant, but I'm honored to get to go along on this journey with you. I will never forget that you increased my portions so greatly when first I entered your service, and I just want to express my gratitude, both to you and the Lord, but I know I would never say this to him, because that would be deeply embarrassing for all involved, but thank you for bringing me into your service.
Your service has been repayment enough, and we will continue to rise, and as we do so, so will you. There are those who will underestimate us in the society, but that is because they see political intrigue as its own form of combat. However, we've come from war zones. We're adjusting to the new rules, but we have not lost yet, for we are still alive.
And he just sort of nods and says, right you are, sir. Good day. I shall go see
Before
to the
you leave,
Hugh.
I appreciate you're looking into the ooh-hoo-hoos, but at the same time I must ask, are you aware of any grumblings among the staff, or those of the, shall we say, lower classes, against those who are higher ranking?
And he pauses to consider this and says, well, sir, you may not be aware, based on where you are from, but, well, and he leans in kind of conspiratorially and says, we've heard reports of the Scholar Progenium, and the clerking service has attempted to kind of make our own version of that in terms of how clerks are trained here, very concentrated and very somewhat removed. And again, we're just going off of the stories we've heard from Offworld, and it all sounds very exciting. So we are unfortunately a little bit cloistered as we learn our clerking trade. That said, I have paid careful attention to the society over time, and there are always rumblings and grumblings, but often that's just people, and he sort of like puffs himself up a little bit. He says, people too foolish to understand where they ought to be in the society, where they have earned their place in the society, and often just want more than is their due. I was an assistant clerk until you took me into your profession, and if you had not, I would have continued to be an assistant clerk for quite some time, possibly my whole life, unless I earned my way out of it. And they should all understand that. They should all understand their place in our society. So yes, there are rumblings and grumblings of discontents as always, but again, I apologize. I've mostly only heard them when passing through the town square, although there have seemed to be somewhat more frequent of late. But the king has been ruling for some time, and I suspect with this final celestial season upon us, there is some uncertainty about what the future of Greybridge might look like, which often leads to discontent. We've had a system for some time, but without an heir, well, things get a little bit strange here. Does that help?
Yes, Hugh, that helps a great deal. If you could do me a favor and write down a list of any names you know that are attached to rumblings and grumblings, that would be greatly appreciated.
I'm afraid I don't know any names. I've just seen and heard people. I immediately disregarded them as not worthy of interest, because if they are grumbling about the society, clearly they are not worth knowing.
That is very brave of you. At the same time, if you should hear any rumblings or grumblings with specific names attached, please report those directly to me.
Of course, sir. Will do. Oh, no, but you're Ryan. I just had a brain cutaway to Valentyne just shooting Hugh Smiggleton in the head. And then snapping back to just having to listen to this guy be like, I had information that would have been incredibly valuable to you. I just didn't hit save.
Yeah, he's just realizing that Hugh is less useful as time goes on, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are fully integrating into the society now, so you don't necessarily need a Hugh. You've got a Clarence and a Rabute.
Yep, and I don't know if we need Hugh on a ship, so, you know, there's going to be some adventures afterwards.
All right. So, having dealt with that, you've got that up and going. Attikus, you find your way to Birno, who is very busily giving orders to various people. You can see that he's got some of his staff on site now. They're very clearly under contract. He doesn't have a standing staff, but he's kind of got some minions on site. They're a little rough and tumble, but seem to be similar to his outfit. They're wearing suits that are just a little worn. They're shiny on the elbows, a little frayed on the edges, but they're all acting with utmost professionalism. A bit of the vibe you get walking up is, oh, this is their shot. Like if this goes really well, then this could really lift the profile of all involved. But upon one of them nodding to you, Birno does one of those, snap fingers, foot over foot spin turns, bows low, and says, well, hey, my lord, welcome, welcome. All right, we're just in the middle of getting some of those preparations going, but you look like a man on a mission. How can I help you?
I'm here to oversee the party planning. I have some new information that you will need to take into consideration for tomorrow evening.
Slight twitch of the eye, but he maintains an otherwise pure poker face.
Oh.
New information, you say? New things I'll have to incorporate into the party we're planning for tomorrow? Sounds great. What are we looking at?
Tomorrow, His Majesty King Fitzgerald will conduct a hunt in the garden maze.
A hunt. All right, great. What are we talking? Ehrlichs? You want something bigger, smaller? What are you thinking?
A person or people that he will choose based on new information.
And immediately Birno and his staff begin to slowly back away. Be like, okay, well that's great. That's good to know. We're gonna go, I think, then.
No, you're not.
Okay, well, I gotta tell you, this guy has a foul mouth, and this guy, he said some mean things about the society. As for me, well, I'm just a humble rattling entertainer, so please don't consider me for the hunt. But you want to take one of these two guys, and they're both just looking in horror.
Then Attikus
the other
is
three are just nodding.
Wave his hand to just dismiss the notion entirely. No. Not anyone such as yourselves. Bigger fish, let's say.
Well, in that case, I'm very glad to be a small fish. All right, well, that's great then. Hey, if it's not any of our asses in the fire, that sounds just fine, chum. So, we're going to have someone in the maze, so I assume you want us to lock off the extra exits, make sure it's nice and safe in there. You want me to, I don't know, set up some traps in there to make sure that the king gets a nice clean kill?
No. Let's leave the king to do what I assume is one of the things he does best.
Right you are, my lord, will do. All right, so we've got most dangerous game being hunted in a maze. Sounds great, sounds fun, sounds exciting, sounds a little bit weird.
Perhaps something to capture it for onlookers and things like that.
All right, yeah, we can get we'll get a bunch of skulls just circling around there. We can repurpose some of the ones from the Great Hunt yesterday. They're just getting their recordings wiped right now. So once those are fresh, once we got some blank tapes, we'll be good to go. All right, that's great. So we got the hunt going on over there. Now listen, you talked about revitalization. You talked about rising. So we are currently working, and I think you're going to love this. I think you're going to hear this, and you're going to go, yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I want. We are working on a giant sun made out of, it's called paper mache. So what we do is we take a bunch of paper, and we get it all sticky wet. We just stretch it across a frame. And this giant sun is just going to go right behind that building. It's going to go right behind that mansion slowly over time, and you're going to look up, and what's rising? What's rising? It's the sun. And
then
the sun rises.
Right, and then what happens then?
Oh, well, it's going to rise over the course of the entire party, right? It's going to rise and rise and rise and rise and rise. And everyone's going to be like, wow, that's a pretty good sun. That's a pretty good thing. Look at that sun go. And then at the end of the party, you're going to love this. At the end of the party, we rotate it. Because people didn't know it could rotate. We rotate it. Boom. Your fucking face, as wide as the mansion, painted on the back of the sun. And then everyone goes, oh, it's not just the sun. It's Lord Van Houten rising. And then Duke Wixthorpe, his pants, they're just going to fly off. They're just going to fly right off because he's going to be so impressed and so turned on by this rising sun. He's going to run over. He's going to drop to one knee. He's going to propose to you right there.
Paper mache. So it's going to be a slow-moving ball of wet paper that has my face on it.
It will have dried. I hope. It's a little bit tight. It might be a little sticky. It might be a sticky face. A sticky giant yellow version of your face, but still recognizable.
No,
you got those clear
like
features.
that.
You got those. I mean, you're a little wrapped up right now. You're a little burned and scratched and stuff. But like, we can do the glasses. We can do the button shops.
That's enough. No, different idea.
And he just turns. He's like, okay, go tell Gary to stop ripping all those pages out of those books. And like one just runs off towards the library on the side of Bolonsong Manor. He says,
We're going to need refreshments, I suppose, and food for everyone who will be coming through the house to guess the value of various things in the Bolonsong estate. It's going to be my dowry.
So we're doing like an
announcing
Antiques
that
Roadshow
as well.
situation. That's a local tradition here.
I don't know what that is, but yes,
we can do that.
That is what we will be doing.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Those are my requirements for
so you just want food
garden
and drinks,
maze,
and you want people to go through your house and talk about how much your stuff is worth, and you want the king to shoot someone in a maze.
Yes, and I have a poem I will be reading tomorrow night
show
as well.
Of art. Yeah, that's right. Well,
that is my art.
Look, I appreciate that you're trying to go a different way with all this, and I respect it. It's your party. All I'm saying is a poem read from inside a giant sun with your face on it would be pretty important. We could build a movable mouth, and the sun could say the poem with you.
I'm to wear the wet.
No, you'd be inside
ball.
it. You'd be inside it. There'd be like a little hole, and we'd be like, "Oh, there's the guy," and then he's inside his own head because you'd be your own thoughts inside your head.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. I respect it. That's fine. We can do it your way. We'll do it your way. Okay. So we got a poem, but that probably means we also need to make room for everyone else's art. So we can set up a pavilion for that out here. I've already ordered the food and drinks, so that's all good. We're all good on that front. I guess we got to go put some price stickers on stuff so we get the ooh-hoo-hoo effect. It's very important to the Antique Roadshow.
You should be the valuations from Hugh Smiggleton or Tresaeus.
Okay, so do you want any spectacle at all other than the hunting of a person?
If the spectacle is paper mache, no. What
and you
else
just see
do
him
you
take
do?
his quill pen and just cross off 8 different ideas. Say, okay.
What else do you do?
Lots of really great stuff with paper mache. But
all right,
you know what? I'm nothing if not inventive.
What did you cross off? What were the 8 things that you just crossed off?
So, first of all, sun rises, right? So that'd be the rising of
That's
your house.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else rises? Spaceships. So we're going to make you a spaceship. And it's going to rise up. And other spaceships, we're going to rise up around it. All made
I
of
have
paper
one
mache.
that's made of metal.
No. Metal's too heavy. Gotta be paper mache. So they were going to rise up. And all the other ones were going to like fly off in other directions until only yours was flying. And then people would be like, right, only he can chart a course for Greybridge. So that was option number 2.
So that's 2. Right. You've got 6 more.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about agriculture, but if you plant a seed, it grows. Now, we got lucky. One of my crew has worked as a farmer. So he came up with 3 great options for us for things that grow. You could have had your face on corn. You could have had your face in a tree. Or you could have had your face on a really tall reed, and it would have blown in the wind and just bounced around. Would have been absolutely, absolutely beautiful.
I see. So what are the next 3 ideas that you had with paper mache
you like birds.
and my face?
Because we were going to create a whole flock of paper mache birds that had puppet wings. So when you pulled strings, all their wings flapped, and they're all going to have your face. Because people should flock to you.
Does this, do these ideas work? Like for other parties you've planned, I'm assuming
No
it's
one
been
has
paper
ever
mache.
given me enough money to build paper mache at this scale. But I got to tell you, in the local bars and taverns where I apply most of my trade, people are fascinated by my little things. You know, I just show up when they're deep in their cups, and I'm like, hey, you look like someone who would enjoy a willow reed. And they go, what? How'd you make that? And then I show them I made it out of napkins and beer spill. So, it's impressed a lot of people in the lower classes here. And I assume the upper class will like it too. But you know what? It's fine. I know you're not sold on the birds. So.
Yeah, what's 7 and 8?
Yeah, all right. So sometimes fish leap out of the water.
Oh my God.
So I was going to make a giant fish with your face on it leap over the top of the mansion and land in a pond with the Duke's face on it. We're going to demolish the maze and build a big pond.
Well, no, don't do that.
No, I know now because you want to go shoot a guy.
All
but
right, well,
we were thinking beforehand.
And so what is number 8 then?
So it used to be these old-timey technology pieces on this planet. It was way before, we started doing all the space stuff and the hovercrafts. Well, you pump a bunch of helium into something. So we're going to take a bunch of paper mache, and I was going to get all my guys to blow in it until it expanded. We're going to put a little basket on it, and it's called a balloon. So we're going to have a giant red hot air balloon with your face on it rise over the building. And then who should stand up from the basket? Bam! You doing art. We didn't know what you were going to do. We thought maybe juggling. I really thought you were a juggler. You got the big arm. Thought it'd be funny to juggle things, but no, you could have done your poem. So big hot air balloon rising up. And we put arrows on either side saying, hey, Duke Wickstrop, you could be here. But we didn't like any of these ideas as much as the sun. Sun was the number one. Sun was the best. So if you didn't like the sun, you're not going to like the rest of them. So those are my 8 ideas since you asked.
Right.
In an alternate dimension, Eli just stepped into frame, shot this guy, and said, all right, I'm taking over because anything is better than that.
No, I was going to kill him. He was going to put my face on corn. I hate that guy. Attikus will say, just after hearing all of that, just so many terms that he's just never heard of before, and concepts that he knows nothing about. But he kind of liked a little bit of what he was hearing of different things. So he'll just say, right, well, you know what then? How about to close up everything? You do the sun, but it's my face and the Duke's face. We're on it together as like a new rising sun. And we're together.
He just, his mind is blown. He holds his hands out and he says, my lord, incredible. Incredible.
And you're saying people have never seen paper mache before?
No one has ever. It rains so much here that, if you're trying to do it in any other weather, you just have a soggy disaster. They just see a bunch of raggedy paper hanging off a frame, like a bunch of fucking twits.
What are the guarantees we have that it won't rain tomorrow?
The Cloud Palace, my friend.
So quiet. Okay.
Cloud Palace flies around. You may have noticed it's been very temperate here. I don't know how long you've been back planet side. The Cloud Palace flies around. It just changes the temperature altogether. So, if you're doing this in winter, fucked. If you're doing this in spring, maybe fucked. Summer, that would have been ideal. Would have really helped us. That's why we're trying to get all the paper mache done now. But fall, you'll be fine. Besides, the sun always rises, right?
Yes. The sun always rises. So
this goes around the planets, I think.
That will be it then. So
great. I gotta go tell Gary to start the paper macheing back up.
Yeah. Good. Great. If you need anything else for the party planning, you come to me or you come to Hugh Smiggleton.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds like we got a plan. Sounds like you and me, we're vibing. We're on the same page. We're doing great. Also, if this goes well, please tell your friends. Tell your friends. Beer Know the Rattling. Best party planner in town. Better than Venom Blight. Huh?
I will tell them about the job you did. Yes.
That's all I can hope for. All right. Now, if you excuse me, I need to go make a giant sun. And he just runs off.
And Attikus, again, not sure if he did a good job. He'll just turn around and mutter to himself, shit, and just walk back to the house.
Morgan and Eli, aside from Eli fantasizing about shooting a character he's never met, what are you doing in the darkness as people struggle to get the power back up and running at your boarding house? If the answer is nothing, we're just hanging tight. That's
I think Eli would like to. I'd like to do a Medicaid check on Morgan. Sure. I think
she's still in a bad way. And the fact is that Eli doesn't really have any great ideas. He doesn't. He's pretty at a loss of what to do next. So he needs Morgan to not be distracted by her physical ailments.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's do a Medicaid check. I'm going to say difficulty of 1. There's so much medical shit wired up to Morgan at this point, and she received such good care from Kiros and that crew that this is actually a pretty easy check, all things considered.
Okay.
I'll give you a boost for the medical equipment in the room.
Sorry, 1 sec. 2 difficulty.
I think I said 1.
One.
Did you say
Did I
1?
say 2?
She just didn't believe you. He said 1.
Oh, you said 1.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
She didn't believe it.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, 2 advantages and a failure. So
That's rough.
the number of fucking blank dice that have been turning up for me. Well, the target heals a number of wounds equal to the number of successes, which is 9, and heals the amount of strain equals the number of advantage. So I guess it's heal 2 strain. And then a failure. So I don't know, give a wound back.
You left a scalpel in her somewhere.
Ow. Your hands are bulky and heavy. Stop that.
I just, there's no one else to help.
Just come here. Sit next to me.
All right. What do we do?
All we can do right now is wait and rest. Unless you have some way of getting outside and getting Toby back or being useful.
With a guard around, it's...
Morgan just kind of sighs and leans against him in the bed, like leans against his arm. There, don't hurt yourself thinking too hard.
Gotta do something about these bombs.
Yes.
And we have to find a way up into that palace in the sky at the end of all this.
I agree with you. All we can do right now is work with what we have. Which we did. That got us here. Unless you have any other good ideas.
Well, not a good idea, but... I mean, Lizardman helped us, but I don't trust them. We don't know who they are. We don't know of anyone who knows who they are.
Yes, exactly. That is how conspiracies work.
All right, I guess we'll just wait. And then he'll grab paper and write down, we've had no evidence of the Eldar's presence. Except for this one mysterious figure who's for some reason helping us.
And Morgan will write back, and her writing is all like shitty and shaky and stuff, and just writes back and underlines it. Could be.
And Eli eats the paper.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, back at the Bolonsong Manor, there is not even really a knock at the door so much as the door kind of blows open as Forrest Pollard arrives, Valentyne, to speak to you. Where do you think you would be waiting for him?
He would have him brought down to the library where he knows there aren't bugs.
Okay, great. So he comes storming down the stairs, sort of walks up to you, grabs you by the shirt, just hoists you up, slams you against a wall, and then he crunches the Space Marine helmet into the wall next to you. And just says, "You'd better start talking really, really fucking quickly and very clearly about what this is and how you got it. Or I'm going to push forward with this other hand through your chest and into that wall. Do you understand me?"
Yes, thank you for coming. It would appear that perhaps your lord is not being entirely honest with you about things he has received, but I'll bring you up to date as swiftly as I can. And he just waits to be let die. The report's over there. I can show you the evidence.
He'll let you down, but I'm going to need to check, I think, to see kind of what mood and tone we're setting here. So,
Sure.
Valentyne, you've talked previously about how you want to kind of be on the level about all this.
Yep.
You're in a society that runs purely on subterfuge. So how do you want to convince Forrest Pollard you're on the level? I'd say that's probably charm or maybe leadership would be the two I would be most inclined to go with. But you can make an argument for something else if you want.
I think charm is fine. Like, he's just trying to be like, this is the deal. It's so obviously self-interested to be like, let me walk you through this conspiracy because I would like him to marry your friend and you're my only in, that I think it's relatively open and kind of clear why, like, he has to gain is definitely clear. Also, after he got threatened with getting murdered.
Yeah. This is less about Valentyne being good at or bad at conveying this, as it is about Forrest Pollard receiving a Chaos Space Marine helmet in the mail and being like, what the ever living fuck. So
I mean, theoretically, he got that from the Royal Guard. I didn't try to
that's what I mean by the mail. I mean, someone showed up and was like, here you go, sir. And he's like, huh? So,
yeah. All right, what's my difficulty?
I'm going to say a difficulty of 2 red. So we're going against his leadership stat.
Okay.
You get a setback for, Space Marine helmet. You get a boost for he asked you to look into this, so it's not unreasonable that you'd have it. And I think you get another boost for asking him to come here. If you were truly trying to pull one over on him, it's a weird strategy to be like, come find me in a place where you can murder me easily. So you've got those things going in your favor. Is there anything else you would want to make a case for?
I know in the scene, Valentyne is making an assumption that Forrest Pollard is not aware of the Chaos Space Marine body that has been delivered to the Duke. But the theft has been reported. If he is aware, I'm imagining that to be a boost. But if he isn't, it would stay the same. I don't know. Like, it's just
okay. Well, let's do a different check before we do this check. Then we'll basically see you're trying to read the situation on his reaction.
Oh no! What I was saying was like Valentyne is guessing based on the death threat with the helmet that the Marine doesn't know. Like he's based on contextual evidence. He's like, nah.
Yes,
Marine,
that is your assumption.
Great. Then we can just call this die pool where it is. Let's see what happens. 7 advantage.
Interesting. So he lets you down, but he's got a hand on his sidearm. He's clearly not at ease with you. And you get the sense that it's very much I'm going to hear what you have to say and then either shoot you or not. But he's still suspicious of you is the vibe you're getting.
Great, that's healthy. And I'm just going to throw all these boosts forwards to my check to convince him that this case and the evidence that I am presenting is real.
A lot of advantage to carry forward. So, yeah, good call.
So Valentyne takes out a file that has been put together by Terseus, walks over to a table, and just lays it out. And he's like, I'll walk you through the discoveries that I made over the course of my investigation. We began, after our conversation, with beginning to look into the Bolonsong manor, trying to discover if there was anything untowards at this facility, trying to determine exactly what had occurred. There were 2 things that took place nearly simultaneously. There was a bomb scare inside the mansion, which occupied Clarence and my lord. Meanwhile, myself and Captain Rolls Varn began interrogating the members of the staff, trying to find anyone who was doing something out of the ordinary on those days. 3 staff members fled. 2 turned out to be petty thievery, those trying to steal something on their way out of the houses. They've been turned over to the authorities as expected. The 3rd, unfortunately, was killed trying to escape. His name was Brandon Herrera. Due to a lack of time, I sent you a message about this at that instance, I was forced to assume his identity and make my way to a meeting with his contact. He was part of the mechanical team who had originally worked. He's showing the documents, showing the background, showing these as he goes. Working on the ships that were used specifically by Lady Bolonsong in this time. When I made my way into the woods, I made contact with his contact, who it quickly became clear had never met Brandon in person, for he believed that I was Brandon Herrera. I confirmed that Brandon Herrera had been employed to carry out an assassination, that what he had been promised was a job, a position with the Voidstain family, which was still being guaranteed at this time, though this fellow clearly wanted to kill me, though he could not overpower me at the time. And I was given a point of contact where I could send on messages. I was hiding out until this was over. The question was raised, which is very interesting, which is, had Brandon caused the second crash, which he had not. it was something beyond what is going on. My theory at this point is there are two conspiracies. I'll continue with evidence for that as we move forwards. Here is the drop point. If we want to reach out, we may be able to make contact with this as it moves forward. At this point, we assumed Voidstain was a part of the whole conspiracy. I don't know if you want me to do this for like 30 minutes, Tom, so I might be able to run you through the top line evidence.
Admittedly, I think based on how long this arc has been going, I think it's useful.
Yay.
So we can leave a message as required. The next logical step for us was Voidstain. We assumed that he must have been involved. We also heard through Kyros at the time of the assassination attempt at the field of the Bolonsong Manor that he had basically thrown aspersions at Voidstain and that there was something inside Voidstain's basement which needed to be looked upon. Knowing that we could not search his manor with himself present, we took Voidstain and took him to Bolonsong Manor in hopes to interrogate him outside of his normal place. He did seem an unlikely suspect, but there was always a chance that instead of just being an idiot who was being framed, he was a genius who had covered this all up through some kind of normal, I'm an eccentric performance. While we had returned to this manor, we heard the ticking and tapping that we had originally assumed was a bomb scare coming down to the basement. Inside this bookcase, and he reaches over and just pushes it aside, we discovered that Space Marine, and he points at the helmet. Clearly corrupted, insane, and killed by my Lord Van Houten. The helmet was being held in his hand, which is why it was intact. We used the helmet to try to see if there was any open coercion, any open cooperation between the Bolonsong Manor and this Marine. The plan was to take the body and move it into the hunt as an overall trophy in the hopes of impressing your king on behalf of my lord. Unfortunately, this was the time, as we began to move forwards with our plans, where Captain Rolls-Van decided to betray my lord. She had been failing in her attempts to win the Duke's hand. She had been failing in most things, and discovering the body, she stole it. If you are aware that that body was handed over to your king, I'm assuming you weren't based on your reaction, but if you were, and take a look at that body, you will see the very telling collisions of a power fist in combination with the armor and body. There is no question.
A very perceptible tightening of the jaw, but no other reaction.
That is why the body was stolen and delivered to the Lord by Captain Rolls-Van, the rogue traitor, if you will. And at the same time, she stole a collection of heirlooms, which were part of my lord's baggage, kept locked, kept inside a safe, lost weapons from friends he had lost over the campaign. As you can imagine, he has no need for a power sword himself, what with the fist that had already done its duty so well. They were stolen and undoubtedly lost alongside a carriage. I am pressing full charges, and those notes have been filed. It is a devastating loss to my lord. They were heirlooms of those who had been lost. Anyways, that is not your concern. Outside of, we remain fully loyal, and those weapons would never have been brought anywhere on this world outside of a locked case. But while trying to move these things into this hunt to be able to make a presentation to the king, my lord did reach out to and call in a favor from Lord Kyros, who gave us a map of the internal hunting grounds, but who also informed us that there had been a hack of his files. Someone had tried to get in and get access to the same tunnels that we were hoping to use. We abandoned that plan, knowing that the wardens would be involved and have access to those tunnels. We assumed there was no reason or effective way for us to move through. These conspirators clearly found a way to do that, which raises questions unto itself. Interestingly enough, because everything is interesting, we found the Voidstain Manor was aflame. I'm going to struggle with some of the overall things. My paperwork from Teseus is not entirely perfect, but this is what we have. Voidstain Manor caught fire after we had destroyed the Space Marine and escaped, bringing Voidstain with us after a confrontation. Voidstain pointed out that he has absolutely no liquidated funds. All of our confirmations proved true. There was no way for him to carry out bribery, the bribery that we had found, which is here, drops a bag of coins. This bribe would have been beyond him, and you can check his records. I believe that to be absolutely true. Returning to his manor after hiding him away, we found it aflame. Made our way downstairs through a side structure that absolutely should have been aflame based on the rest of the fire, but was not. As we made our way downstairs, we discovered a paranoid fantasy of what a corrupt or heretical individual would seem. An underground room laid out as though a perfect scene of images, of notes, the kind of case that one would never imagine a clever heretic would ever put together. I have photographs of the scene here. And he just drops those out as laid out with the whole thing. Due to the short time that we had available, we believed Voidstain to be innocent. We captured all this evidence, and then we destroyed this scene so that the conspiracy could not be blamed on an innocent soul. Should you find it convenient, should your king find it convenient, Saccoteur Voidstain isn't alive. He was not lost in the fire. His coordinates are here, and he just sends a photo that was taken of Saccoteur Voidstain in a ditch with Toby on top of him. He's like, you can collect him at your will. Whatever you should so wish to do, go right ahead. We destroyed this scene and moved on. I do know, based on the conversations with the fire crew, that this was arson. This is confirmed to have been a flame that was put in place by some outside force. And this room, which we discovered, had clearly been renovated and laid out in a way that should have caught fire, but with the additions recently of some kind, it was shielded from the flames, as though to be set aside so a fire started, and then the rescuers would most definitively discover this pretty blatantly falsified evidence. The fire was called in by Borovic. We know this to be true. And due to these overhead surveillance photos, presents those as well, we are currently aware that there are 3 snipers put in place on the Voidstain property. They could oversee the house, and they likely could oversee the drop point of dear Brandon Herrera. If he came out of the woods, I do believe he would have been shot. This strongly indicts Lord Borovic in participating in this overall conspiracy, and softly indicts Lord Kiros, because if he knew what was down there, there's a chance it was an overall mishap. There's a chance otherwise. There was one contact who we identified, and he presents the photo of the guard who was the one who met him. The information Terseus found on that guy's identity. This was the contact Brandon Herrera made. He was an employee at the Voidstain home. We saw him there. We do not know if he died in the fire. We do not know his overall location. We do know Brandon Herrera had gambling debts, and he hands over the name of the bar and the contacts or all that was going on. This is tremendously unsettling, obviously. As we move forward into the hunt, robbed of our own strategy and with this nightmarish thing behind us, that is where we hid Voidstain. We could not afford for him to be killed out of hand, frankly. I'd rather he be killed by you, or sacrificed in some meaningful way. We participated in the hunt when we discovered that there were these strange assassins, rebels of some kind inside the facility. There was a strange observation that I made, which is the first time that one of these counter-hunters was spotting a lord traveling by, they did not fire. But the moment that they saw my lord, they immediately tracked and fired. That was the first one that we were forced to kill. When we went down, we took more of them alive. I costumed myself as one of these rebels, and during a conversation I was forced to have to cover our escape, they did say something interesting as an overall battle cry. Fuck the nobles. Which really stands out. There's a possibility that this is our second conspiracy, just an immediate pushback against the nobility by those from below. The other possibility is that we have 2 conspiracies in play, one involving Borovic, one theoretically involving Kiros at the top level, and then this lower rung uprising that could be its own thing or could be another lord in play, perhaps disguising themselves by funding this lower level revolution. I have all of the proof of everything that has been laid out here. This is everything we have discovered. These are the crimes that have been committed that we are aware of. This is what I can present.
And he considers this. And you can tell he's only been half listening to all this. And then he kind of locks eyes on you and says, the Marine you say you killed down here, what was on his body?
I think Valentyne captured some images of that at the time. A powered armor, similar to yours, but a more archaic make, seemingly put together, stained ochre and red in overall substances. The Marine was extremely gaunt, nowhere near your level of health. Clearly ancient, clearly confused. There were jaws, almost, with crude teeth surrounding an orb. I couldn't entirely make it out on one
Was there
shoulder.
a black obsidian rock, broken, jagged edge, otherwise perfectly smooth?
No, my lord, we did not discover anything such as that.
And he nods and he says, you've done particularly well. And then he just turns and leaves.
In the moment, Valentyne waits. He's a space marine. He's got super good hearing. He goes up the steps, and Valentyne looks down at all the evidence and says, well, it wasn't an execution.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features the voices of players Ryan LaPlante, Tyler Hewitt, Laura Hamstra, and Del Borovic, alongside Game Master Tom McGee. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's artwork was created by Del Borovic at delborovic.com. That's DELBOROVIC. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ad breaks use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR. All of their music is available at freemusicarchive.org. For all things Dum-Dums and Dice, including merchandise and how to join our Patreon, you can visit dumdumdice.com or find us on social media at dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Abe, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain, Rob L, Dia De Los Hoodless, Squishy Werewolf, Remy Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, Gus Schreider, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, Alex Parr, Old Man Mojo, Dragonfly, The Body Barrelers, Megan Werner, A Man Out of Time, Curtis at FingerTechRobotics.com, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.